Welcome yogis. Today's module is all about Chaturangas and Vinyasa and how to work with your body to create the strength, the support, the connectiveness of your Chaturanga. And Chaturanga, as some of you may have known, it's one of the easier postures but also one of the hardest to master. And it's a constant progress. And thinking of how you're pulling your body together using the entire muscular system to engage towards the internal portions of your body and getting down into the skeletal system. So with Chaturanga, it's lengthening through your core, and there is a lot of core work that is included. So today's module is all about building the baby steps up to your Chaturanga and how to dive in a little bit deeper so that you can create strength for the Chaturanga so that you're sustainable in your yoga practice. Today, each and every portion of the way that you do your Chaturangas is all about these stepping stones. So take your time, explore through different movements, explore through the different steps. You can put this video on pause, try something out, work with it for a while, or come back to this module at any point in time. So today we're actually going to start on our backs, and when you start on your back, we take a look at the function of the body. So your legs are going to be out long, rolling down onto the spine, and simply becoming aware of where your hips are, where your feet point out to, where your hands extend out to, where your shoulders are. Do your shoulders roll up and in, or are they pressed firmly down against the earth? Where are your toes? If they're pointed outward or pointed inwards, how can you bring your feet hips width distance apart? So you want the feet to be hips width distance apart, the extension through the heel, the elongation of the fifth line through the backside of the body that runs down the backside of the thighs down through the heels. This energetic line is very important to imagine energy running through. When you create this energetic alignment into your body, the structure of the body starts to respond. So the activation in through the heels, you want to press energy out of the heels and draw your toes up, trying not to curl the insides of the feet towards you or press the outside edges of the feet up towards you. You want the feet to be flat, just as if you were standing in Tadasana. Then take a look at what your thighs are doing. How active are they? Begin to squeeze your quadriceps up and in, and create a gentle lift to your glutes to neutralize the pelvis. The abdomen becomes nice and firm and strong as you begin to build through the body. Then take a look at your rib cage. Your rib cage sometimes can be splayed outward, or it can be concentrated and pulled in like a tight corset. You want the rib cage to really pull in so that you can pull your shoulders down and press them back. This will create this deep core structure into the abdomen, giving you this tree trunk effect. This tree trunk effect is really important in building spinal endurance. And when you build this activity in your spine and the muscles that surround your spine, you really start to feel the elongation through each and every single vertebrae all the way through the crown of the head. So the energy that's running through the body starts with your body on the ground. Then get used to where your shoulders can roll. Okay, I can squeeze my shoulders towards each other, bringing my collarbones inward, and I can really scoop down into the chest. Or I can press my shoulders back and squeeze my shoulder blades together, elbows firmly pressed down into the earth, and then bend into the hands. Bring your fingertips back towards you. This structure that we're building is so that you can create a upside down Chaturanga. When you pull your elbows in towards your rib cage, you want to squeeze your shoulder blades together. And you're creating a retraction. So you're squeezing them together and holding a nice long flat backside of the spine. And then as if you have a board on your hands, really squeeze your elbows down into the earth and squeeze them towards your mid-body. Flex through the wrists and extend and widen your hands. This backwards, upside down Chaturanga, this is the building blocks. Different portions that you can also do is bring blocks into your hands and squeeze your shoulder blades together and lengthen and get used to where your fingertips can float. They can float all the way forward past your shoulders, or they can float all the way back. Just getting used to where you can create more of a 90-degree angle from the wrists, from the fingertips to the wrists, and then the wrist down to your elbow, and then bring your shoulders back and down, lengthen through your spine. Tuning into what this feels like for several breaths, noticing how your body is creating that structure. And then extend your arms up towards the sky, squeezing your shoulder blades down and away, lengthening through the spine, and really press through the heel of the hand and into the ball of your first fingertip. Active engagement. Notice where your shoulders are, because you can pull your shoulders up and away from the earth, but you actually want to draw them back and down as you lengthen through your hands. Then eyes of elbows to help with hyper flexibility or hypermobility. You want to start to roll the elbows in towards each other. This is a little more difficult to do when you're on your spine. And really what we're trying to do is take the bend out of the arm so that you don't hyperextend into the elbow. So then gently bring your elbows back down by the sides, squeeze the elbows together, squeeze through the chest, pull the shoulder blades back and down. And then float the blocks down by your sides. So you can do multiple different reps of this. You can do this over time. You can do however many it takes for you to start to get used to the movements. So another option is to actually lengthen through the backside of the hamstring. The hamstring is really important in your Chaturanga because it's one of the bigger muscles that you're using. Also your quadricep. So make sure that you can stretch through your legs by pulling your toes down towards you and press your heels away. This will start to activate the structure into the core, pressing energy back up through the back sides of the legs and the toes drawing down. The next option is to extend your fingertips up towards the sky into a Dandasana. As your shoulders roll back and down flat against the earth, this is a concept of building the core strength. So you're lengthening through your sit bones towards the front of your mat, and then extending your hands as if you have an imaginary beach ball, or you can take a block and press the block with the palms of the hands towards each other and expand through your fingertips. Send the shoulders down into the earth and lengthen through the core. Draw your ribs inward. And as you hold here, just become aware of where your body is at, creating structure and endurance. Then slowly lower the knees, lower the feet, bring your block over towards the side, and allow your body to take a rest. Constructive rest pose is a great option for the body because it allows everything to soothe, and allows the psoas to relax, it allows the core structure to recompose itself, and the spine to realign. Secondary options for taking Chaturanga on your spine is actually to have your knees bent and your knees squeezing together. Extend the arms up towards the sky, float the fingertips towards each other and hold into the core. From here you can then bend into your elbows, flatten through your hands and squeeze your elbows towards your rib cage, pressing the shoulders back down and away. Active engagement into the core. You're starting to really sink down into the pelvis and pulling the pelvic floor up. You squeeze your knees together, point through the toes, or flex through the feet. This is just creating structure and stability for the Chaturanga. And then lower the feet down, lower the hands down, and a simple warm-up for your Chaturanga. Coming onto your hands and knees to begin to build through the body. So work with the shoulders and take a look at where your shoulders are. Noticing the shoulders over the elbow, over the wrist, and then planting the fingertips down and connecting to your Hasta Bandha. Your pinky finger and your thumb energetically aligning towards each other. pressing forward into the hands, and then eyes of elbows turn in towards each other. Squeeze into the knees and press down into the tops of the shins, the tops of the feet. The active cue is to expand through your pinky toe down towards the earth. Your pinky toe may never move, and that is okay. It's the energetic expansion that you want to create. Then a widening of the sit bones as you lift through the core, tabletop. This structure will allow for more stability once you reach into a high plank. Different options that you can then take from here is to press down into the tops of the feet, lift the knees. This will start to work the abdomen, work that tree trunk, work the core. You can also lift one knee up at a time, moving from side to side. This will help with transitions. This is getting deep down into other bandhas of the core, energetically aligning and locking through the spine as you lengthen. So taking a few moments to explore through lifting of the knees one at a time or both at the same time. Phase 2 is actually to send your hips back, press your heart forward, and then sink your shoulders down in a way as you pull the eyes of the elbows towards each other and really squeeze into your shoulder blades, creating a deep retraction, active engagement into the core, and you're stretching through the shoulders, stretching through the spine, creating this deep traction throughout the spine so that the core can talk with the spine and the spine begins to activate and lengthen its muscular structure. And then shifting back forward to your tabletop position. Options for people that have sensitive wrists is to actually come down onto the forearms, or they can also make a fist and press down into the fist, eyes of elbows turned in, engaged. Other options are to use blocks. Blocks are super handy and they bring you 4 inches closer to the ground, or brings the ground 4 inches closer to you, really, and allows you to have a different approach to where you are. Blocks are going to give you a lot of stability, a lot of structure. They also will help build your muscles a whole lot faster. However, they can be somewhat of a challenge for some people. They're really great in a vinyasa or in a movement class because the ground is actually quite a bit closer to you and giving you added support, especially if you have tight hips or tight hamstrings or even a tight core. The 4 extra inches is a grace period so that you can then graduate towards the floor again, and it becomes so much easier. I demonstrate a lot of block usage in classes and we'll be using them quite a bit. So blocks are definitely important. When you are holding onto a block, you want to make sure that the baseline of your hand is down around the edge of the block and that you can squeeze your thumb and your pinky towards each other and expand through your fingertips up towards the front of the block. You want to make sure that you can pull your middle fingers back and there's not a lot of pressure on the back side of the hand. So same thing that you would do on the ground, you do on the blocks as well. So different activities that you can work with is to simply press through the shoulders and protract through the shoulders, almost as if you're doing a cat pose. However, you're keeping the elongation through the body. So then, keep the elbows straight, sink just the chest down, keep the abdomen long. And then retract the shoulders, squeeze them together, press the heart down towards the earth, elongate through the crown of the head. And then extend, filling the back side of the heart. And you can also come down onto the ground if that is easier for you by lowering the chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and then pressing away. Scapular push-ups is what this is called. You can do this against a wall. You can do this with a chair. You can do this in your bed. You can also do it lying down and putting a block between the hands. So the work through the shoulders, allowing the shoulders to strengthen, getting into the lower portions of the rhomboids and into your trapezius. As you build strength through the muscles of the shoulders, your side delts along the side edge will start to really thicken. So must-dos with Chaturanga is also open shoulder stretches, such as child's pose or puppy pose, or even downward facing dog. So make sure that when you are working with your Chaturanga, working with the body, you're also taking care of the muscles with stretching. So when you are doing lots of movement into building strength, you also want to create a stretch. So eye of the needle, come down onto the backside of your left arm, lowering down, and extend your right arm forward. But instead of creating a twist, you actually lower the underarm of the right hand down towards the earth and keep the chest lifted. Shift your left shoulder back and away as you press your left hand down, and then use the chest to sink down towards the earth. Press down into the tops of the feet. And then slowly walk out of the posture. Moving to the opposite side, extend the right hand down, walk the left hand forward, begin to shift through the weights. Depending on how tight your shoulders are, you might be able to go all the way towards the ground. You may be all the way up. This is totally fine. You can also place a hand on a block and work with just the small stretch. Options for everyone. And then coming out of the posture, plant back into a tabletop position. When you build the strength for the structure of your Chaturanga, high plank is going to give you that structure. When you press the heels back, noticing where your arms are and how shifted you are. Notice where your arms can shift forward, shift back, maybe your hips lift, maybe your hips sink down. Where you want them is to be nice and level and lengthening, and then the shoulders actually come over the tops of your fingertips. And then you can lower the knees and send the hips back, child's pose. The shift from child's pose to hands to knees to high plank can be many different variations. So the movement of coming forward strengthens the core so that it can shift you forward and keeping you active. So as you come down into your child's pose, then press down into the tops of your feet, pull yourself with your breath, tuck into your toes, lift the hips, keep a long flat back, press through the hands, draw the eyes of the elbows towards each other, pull in the belly. And then lower the knees, uncurl the toes, send the hips back. Working forward, breath draws you forward, curl the toes, lift the hips, pull the core in, lengthen through the crown of the head. You don't want to be looking up or even looking too far down, but just ahead of you, maybe the top corner of your mat. And then lower the knees, press the hips back. Inhale shifts you forward, curling the toes, lifting the hips, eyes and elbows towards each other, pulling in the abdomen, shift onto the toes, adjust as needed, and then lower the knees, send the hips back. You can repeat these exercises over and over to build the strength of your Chaturanga so that you can protect your shoulders, your chest muscles, all into the pectorals, down the sternum, into the core, down into the pelvic floor, quadriceps, hamstrings, and even down into the heels and toes. Another way to work with your Chaturanga is with a strap. Straps are a great tool, great prop, something that you can use. When you're using a strap in your Chaturanga, you will take the toggle and bring the strap through so that your arms are going to be shoulder width distance apart. What this will do is bring the strap just above the crease of the elbow so that it'll give added support as you press outward and create strength. What this actually can help with is creating the structure of the balance of the posture. Also, don't get lazy with it, because you can scoop down and hang out, and really you're not doing your body any kind of benefit in this space, but actually shifting forward. You can lower the knees, uncurl the toes, lower down halfway. In this space, you can really notice where you can shift your legs, your knees, your shoulders, pulling the shoulders back, lift into the core. The strap will help you extend and lengthen and hold and create muscular memory. And then press yourself back and neutralize. Now to come up onto the tippy toes, roll through your tabletop position, lift the knees, and when you lower your elbows, squeeze elbows towards each other, create that 90-degree angle and shift yourself forward and hold. Press into the core, lift into the hips, and then press back up. Shift your weight, lower down, child's pose. Coming back to your tabletop, curling the toes under, lifting the hips, and then trying again. Maybe this time hold a little bit longer. Maybe roll forward, roll back, maybe even roll over the toes and lift up. Maybe press back into a downward dog. Just noticing where you can have movement into your body using support. Come back into your tabletop position. As you activate down into the hands, this time we'll extend the legs back, hold into the high plank, lower down halfway and hold. Come up onto the tippy toes, pull your core in and press forward. Holding, building, pulling the shoulders back and down, and then press back. As you're building strength, doing this from the knees and curling the toes under to get energy driving through the heels to shift forward, lower down, come back up. You can also shift back. Doing different rounds to really activate and use the Chaturanga so that you can create structure. When using blocks and straps together, just become aware of where your shoulder strength is and where your hand placement is. Same thing that you would do is extend the legs back, lift onto the tippy toes, shift your weight forward and back, bring the eyes of the elbows towards each other, open through the chest, then eyes of the elbows roll forward as you lower down. Inhale for upward facing, and then press back over the toes, high plank. Press the hips up for a resting posture. Getting used to where your shoulders are, activation into your downward facing dog. And then come back forward, tippy toes, draw you forward, shifting your core energy, and then lowering down. Lifting the heart, rolling over the toes, and then neutralize back into a child's pose. These are just small exercises to work with the Chaturanga. Other options that you can do is to bring your blocks to about pubic bone space and then also chest space. So then when you come down, you're being supported by a block and can come back up and shift back. Blocks are super handy. You can take them lower and lower, gauging your strength. You can use your strap alongside of using your blocks. Just depends on your comfortability with the movements. When you come down, say you're coming down on your knees, you're not going to have a lot of room to come down. So that's where you want to create adjustment of where you're going to go. I find that having the blocks up on the highest is best for me. I am quite tall, so I do have long arms and long legs. And having them up as tall as they can be helps me, especially the shift forward and coming down and then pulling back up. So straps with blocks, great options, great learning tool and strength builders. You can also bring the blocks in front of your fingertips and work with your Chaturanga from your knees. So eyes of elbows roll towards each other, then shift your core weight, pull the eyes of the elbows forward, shift your weight forward, lower down, shoulders come down towards your blocks, and then you press back up. And then shift your weight back. So different options, you can have level 1, level 2, or even level 3, just depending on what's needed in your body and how you're creating structure. So again, shifting forward, lowering down, tag, press back. Coming forward, you can lengthen through the legs, lower down, chaturanga. You can lift up to upward facing, or you can press back. So different options for different uses of the blocks and how they can help you and assist you in your chaturanga. Things that you want to look out for is when you're in chaturanga or you're in a movement of a vinyasa, you want to watch out for where the shoulders are going. A lot of the times you will see in your classes and in your students, their shoulders rolling forward. When they're rolling forward, they're putting a lot of strain on all the muscles around your shoulder girdle, and starts to put strain around your biceps, your triceps, and your side delts. So you really want to create this active engagement by pulling the shoulders back, strengthening through the front pectoral muscles into the lateral muscles. Core is really engaged and active, and chaturanga is the leading posture for all of your arm balances, your inversions, downward dog, standing posture. So chaturanga is kind of important when you're doing yoga. So what you don't want to do is misalign your body, because that will cause more harm than good in the long run. A lot of things that people may see is actually this whole swoop forward, and then people will take their elbows out and they'll pull their chest down, and then they'll press forward. So what you want to make sure that your students are doing are pulling their eyes of their elbows in towards the body line and really squeezing the shoulders in towards each other. It's okay if the elbows come out towards the side. So if you're squeezing as far as you can and you have large lateral muscles, the squeeze is not going to be as close in versus having a full torso that is connected, instead of having like large lateral muscles like a lot of men will actually have, so that their elbows won't come in. So you don't want to hyper squeeze, but it's a press and pull so that you can create that active engagement through the spine. The different things that you will also see is knees, chest, chin. So that's a variation for your chaturanga, and a lot of the times you'll see people come all the way down and be here, but versus the movements of coming up and back. So you want to just be aware of where the shoulder is and allowing the shoulder to stay lifted, and then the elbow to never be up further than the shoulder. So different options for the knees, chest, chin is to actually lower down halfway, hold the core up, so then you can press into the upward facing dog. Or when you come forward to lower down, lower your chest and pull your shoulders back so that you can squeeze your hips down for cobra pose. Then you can press back down into your child's pose. Depending on what you're doing and how much you're moving, chaturanga is going to have lots of different variations, and you're going to see lots of different things, as you may have already seen through practice and going to studios and learning more about chaturanga. Lots of different options, building strength, building core, taking things against a wall, and being compassionate with your body and creating yourself exactly where you are on your mat, and being in that humble space of there's always time to grow. There's always room to grow. No matter who you are or what level of practitioner you are, there is constantly room to create more. And I will say for myself, it took me about 3 years from the time I broke my sternum to today, being able to really work with chaturanga. So it's a long haul journey for some, it's a really fast journey for others. So take the time, get to know it, get to know how to teach it, being able to really tune into your body and see what you're learning so that you can then represent that movement to your students. So chaturangas are excellent, they're amazing, they're wonderful, and they're used in vinyasa, hatha, Ashtanga, and so many other practices. So enjoy your journey into Chaturanga, and we will see you next time. Thanks.